Welcome into Bengals Breakdown. I am your host, Stone Shields. Before we get into today's show, make sure you guys hit that sub button if you haven't done so already. And if you want to become a smarter Bengals fan, help us out. Hit that sub button. And if you don't learn anything in the next week or so, that's fine. You can unsubscribe. But for now, don't miss out. Hit that sub button for me right now. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be breaking down the Bengals depth chart after the 2025 NFL Draft. Obviously, the Bengals added 6 draft picks, and they are all going to be on these depth charts, and also a bunch of UDFAs there as well. So plenty of names to break down here on today's show. Obviously, the Bengals have not released a depth chart here at this point. A lot of it is kind of predictive, in my opinion, as well. So some of the stuff you'll see on today's show isn't necessarily what you would see if you Googled Bengals depth chart, but a lot of it is my opinion. I do believe it's how things will shake out come week 1. Not much controversy here at the quarterback position. You got Burrow there at quarterback 1, Browning at quarterback 2. There is no battle, by the way, for that backup quarterback spot. It is Jake Browning's. And then there is a bit of a battle here between Woodside and Peyton Thorne. But look, I'd be surprised if Peyton Thorne beat out Logan Woodside, right? Woodside has been a part of this team for several years. There's trust between Woodside, Taylor, Burrow, Browning in that room. I think you just keep those guys together. Obviously, we'll see. Maybe Peyton Thorne balls out in the preseason, but based on what he did in college, I don't foresee that happening. I think it's going to be Burrow, Browning, Woodside as far as your quarterbacks go. Let's talk running back here on today's show. Chase Brown, obviously that running back 1 for you. Kind of flirted back and forth going with Zach Moss or Samaje Perine for that running back 2 spot. Originally, I've had Perine at that 2, but then Moss coming back on that restructured contract threw him at that 2 spot as well. You're going to see a lot from both of those guys. I do believe Taj Brooks obviously is going to make the roster as your 6th-round pick, and then you got Kendall Milton, Gary Brightwell, and Conley, your UDFA there, kind of on the outside looking in. But I think the Bengals really hit a home run when you're talking about this running back room. Going into this offseason, I feel like running back was kind of a sneaky need for your football team, something that needed to be addressed, and that's exactly what they did. Bringing back Perine, I know that pleased a lot of people. Obviously, he did some good things here in Cincinnati. Moss, great to have him coming back, right? You didn't know what his future was necessarily going to hold with that serious neck injury that he suffered during practice last year. And then your 6th-round pick, Taj Brooks. I've said before on this show, it feels like a steal, right? It feels like a guy that in different drafts probably would have gone in like the 4th round, but you got him in the 6th round, and I definitely think he has a bright future here in Cincinnati. Pick a running back 2 for me, though, in the comments of today's show. If it's not Chase Brown, who do you want to see getting the majority of the workload? Let me know. Type ZM for Zach Moss, SJ for Samaje Perine, or TB for Taj Brooks. It is the pinned comment of today's video. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, you know the drill. Take advantage of it. Get down in the comments. Let us know what you think. Let's talk receivers here. No change from last year to this year as far as your first 3 go. Chase, Higgins, Yoshi are those guys. Then we'll get to Burton, and we'll come back to him in a second. Got Burton, obviously, in this depth chart. Charlie Jones, hopefully he can find a way to stay healthy. Isaiah Williams, Kendrick Pryor, Cole Burgess, Tinsley Mitchell, all guys. And then you got your UDFAs there down at the bottom of the screen. But the biggest question here is Jermaine Burton, right? We've talked about it a bunch here on this show. I think a lot of teams would have let Burton go, right? Considering all the off-the-field stuff and just not showing up to practice, not going to Pittsburgh with the team because he screwed stuff up. Just a total mess for Jermaine Burton in year 1. But Bengals didn't draft anybody at that receiver position, and they didn't bring in any free agents. So to me, it sounds like they're going to give him another chance. He's been at the voluntary offseason stuff, which obviously is good to see. There's been reports that Higgins is trying to kind of bring him under his wing and help him along. But the biggest question there is Jermaine Burton. If Burton's a guy that gets cut, you're going to need to have another receiver step up in some regard. And I think you got some UDFAs that are going to be on the practice squad that perhaps could be guys that could fit in on the active roster, but big offseason here for Jermaine Burton. Let's talk tight ends here on today's show. I've got Drew Sample at the tight end 1. Obviously, it's really Gesicki, but Gesicki's not really a tight end. He's more of a big slot, right? But Sample coming off the best year of his career. Got Hudson at that tight end 3 spot. Obviously, Eric All Jr. sucks. He's going to miss the entirety of the season with his injury setback. Cam Grandy is back. He really did a nice job in the limited time that he got. Cole Taylor is your UDFA. But Tanner McLachlan is kind of the most interesting guy here in this room, in my opinion. What's Cincinnati going to do with him, right? Because they kept him on the roster. Didn't want him to be a practice squad guy. He was a 6th-round pick for you out of Arizona last year, but he didn't really play whatsoever. And if he's not able to beat out Tanner Hudson for that third tight end spot, you got some questions on whether or not his time here in Cincinnati is up. They're not just going to keep him around on the roster if he can't find his way into the lineup. And McLachlan was a guy that I was really high on when they drafted him, but he's got to have a really good preseason and really just off-season in general, so he makes that roster for Cincinnati. Offensive line, next up here. This is where, things might get a little bit different than what you would see if you would Google this offensive line depth chart. Your tackles and your center, there's no arguments there, right? Barring injury, those are going to be your guys. The guards are completely up in the air. Dylan Fairchild is your 3rd-round pick out of Georgia, and then Lucas Patrick is your free agent signing that you kind of got, well into free agency, really. And there are a lot of people that view him as having an opportunity to potentially start. Look, Dylan Fairchild, I think, is incredible. I think he's going to really blossom into a great player for you. Now, part of me thinks that Cordell Volson's going to find his way into this starting lineup still, because I'm buying what Scott Peters is talking about. When it seems like Peters really thinks he's going to be able to get the most out of Cordell Volson and make him a starting caliber guard. Obviously, Volson has been a starter, but it hasn't necessarily gone according to plan when it comes to that pass blocking. Question I have, is there a chance that we get another signing, right? We've floated the name Brandon Scherf around a lot. Zac Taylor said leading up to the draft that, we're not going to sign anybody prior to the draft. Well, now the draft just came and went. You added 2 offensive linemen through the draft. Would you perhaps bring in another veteran? I don't know. The Scherf is really the only name that comes to mind, but obviously the Bengals got to figure out what they're going to do there at that guard spot. I really do think Dylan Fairchild is going to be one of them. Who's going to be the other one? Is it going to be Lucas Patrick? Is it going to be Cordell Volson? Or is it going to be Cody Ford? Once again, folks, make sure you guys hit that sub button, youtube.com/BengalsTV. We are approaching rapidly 19,000 subscribers here on the channel. Only need about 240 more to make that happen. Let's do it here as soon as possible. Help us out. Hit that sub button right now. Edge rushers, next up here. Flipping the script here to the defensive side of the football. Troy Anderson, obviously he's your guy. Hopefully he is back with this football team, and things get worked out between him and the organization. Osai here is back on a 1-year prove-it deal, and I've got Shamar Stewart, your 1st-round pick out of Texas A&M, penciled in to this defensive end 3 spot. Other guys here, Myles Murphy, Isaiah Thomas, Cam Sample, who I'm really excited to have him back. Hopefully he looks pretty decent after popping that Achilles. Hopefully he can get back to form. Raymond Johnson III, and Cedar Johnson, your 6th-round pick last year out of Ole Miss. I feel like when the limited times he got, he really did a nice job. But really, I want to focus on Myles Murphy here. It's now or never for Myles Murphy, right? Your 1st-round pick a couple of years ago. You got to show something. Year 1 wasn't much, had some more opportunities last year, but ultimately Joseph Osai was kind of beating him out for those reps. So the Bengals really need to get something out of Myles Murphy. If he can, if Al Golden, Jerry Montgomery, those guys defensively can get more out of him, it really could, turn things around for your defense. If Myles Murphy plays like a guy that was picked in the 1st round, that could solve a lot of your issues, right? So that really is a player that I'm going to be keyed in on, but he's going to really have to earn it to be able to go out there and get some starting spots, because the Bengals, obviously, they got Shamar Stewart now, their new 1st-round pick. They're going to be giving him all the opportunities to go out there and perhaps make an impact for this team. What's your confidence level in Myles Murphy? Let me know in the comments of today's show. Scale it for me, 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. Defensive tackle, next up here on today's show. B.J. Hill, obviously back. T.J. Slaton, my favorite free agent signing out of Green Bay, has that relationship there with Jerry Montgomery. Put Kris Jenkins Jr. there as that 3rd defensive tackle. Could argue it's McKinley Jackson, but I went with Kris Jenkins Jr. there. Regardless, you're going to need both of them to really step up and play well. But then beyond that, you've got a batch of UDFAs there, all right, with Cross and Gregory. Cross, of course, played with Al Golden at Notre Dame. Gregory also played some SEC ball there as well. Out of all the UDFAs, I'm kind of looking at that interior defensive line. I feel like one of those guys could perhaps carve out a roster spot. We saw Mumajong Meta do it at that linebacker spot last year. Don't be surprised if one of those defensive tackle UDFAs sticks around and makes this team for Cincinnati. Linebackers, again, going to be a little bit different than what you would see here if you did a simple Google search. Logan Wilson, he's spearheading that room. The past 2 years haven't been phenomenal, but Al Golden coming back, I got really high hopes and expectations for Logan Wilson this year. I've got, obviously, Pratt is still on here. As of filming, he has not been released. There's a chance that by the time this video comes out, he will be released. But I think Demetrius Knight Jr., your second-round pick out of Carolina, he's that second linebacker for you. He's Al Golden's guy, and he's got to go out there and do a nice job and really make a difference for this defense. Oren Burks, Super Bowl champion from Philadelphia, veteran. Like that signing, cheap signing, and a guy that can come in and play winning football for you. Again, I got Pratt on there, Barrett Carter, your third-round pick out of Clemson. Mumajong Meta is going to make this team once again. Shaka Hayward, Joe Giles Harris, Craig Young, those guys probably on the outside looking in. But we talk about all the pressure on Al Golden. Speaks throughout the entirety of the defense, more specifically that linebacker position. That is his forte. The room's going to look totally different. You got 2 draft picks in there that you're bringing in, a second-rounder and a fourth-rounder that you're banking on coming in and making a difference. Al Golden has to get the most out of those guys, and let's be very clear, he picked those linebackers, Demetrius Knight Jr. and Barrett Carter. Yes, it was a collaborative effort, but those were his guys. They have to be able to play winning football for this team. Transitioning to the DBs, Cam Taylor-Britt is back, and I've got him at cornerback 1. I don't know if necessarily he's the most reliable corner there. DJ Turner, cornerback 2. We'll see about that still. I've got him there at the nickel. Don't be surprised if he plays outside corner. He's already had to switch positions around a lot, so we might make an adjustment to that and perhaps put somebody else at that nickel spot. Regardless, Dax Hill is going to be starting if he is healthy. He, in my opinion, is the best DB that you have. But other guys in the room, Newton could perhaps be the nickel for you. DJ Ivy, talked about him, perhaps being a breakout guy. Nate Brooks, Marco Wilson, Micah Abraham, Jalen Davis, Lance Robinson, and Lux, your UDFA, rounding at that room there as well. I hope this room looks a little bit different come week 1. I would like a veteran to come in, whether that be a Stephon Gilmore or somebody along those lines. There's so much youth in that room, right? All those guys are young guys, and I think they could really benefit from a guy coming in and, just being a veteran in that room, right? And you're losing Mike Hilton, right? Hasn't been signed as of filming anywhere yet, but you're probably going to be without him. And just from a leadership perspective, you really could use somebody coming in that room and help lead. Doesn't necessarily have to be someone that's going to come in and start, but I think getting a veteran body in that room would be beneficial. Safety here on today's show. Yep, not much going on here in this room. No draft picks, no free agent signees, and I don't even believe there's any UDFAs there either. Stone and Battle are going to get the first cracks at it, and we'll see if Al Golden and Zac Taylor ever move off those 2 guys. Tyson Anderson's kind of a wild card here for me. Obviously, Anderson's your special teams ace. We all love Tyson Anderson. When the safeties were struggling last year, I kind of wondered if whether or not we would see Anarumo put Anderson in the lineup at all. We never did. We'll see if that changes here with Al Golden, but Tyson Anderson, boy, that guy competes for you, and having him on the football field more, I think would be positive for the Cincinnati Bengals. So look for him as a potential wild card guy if something's not going well for Battle and or Stone. Special teams, Evan McPherson will be back. And hopefully he can do a better job at making his kicks. Obviously missed a few last year. Ryan Rico is back at that punter spot, year 2. Got a little long snapper battle. Wagner out of Michigan and Cal Adamitis. They're going to go at it. A lot of people think Wagner has a chance at winning it. I didn't think Adamitis was bad last year, or at the point where you would need to look away from him. And then you got kick return, punt return. It's going to be Charlie Jones if he is healthy, which obviously with him is always a concern. Look, this unit wasn't good enough last year, right? From a field goal perspective with McPherson, it wasn't good enough. You saw good things in the punt game from Rico. Holding perspective, no. Adamitis, didn't think he had any unplayable snaps, but I also don't think he was perfect. And you had the kick return from Charlie Jones against Cleveland early in the year, but that really was the only splashy play you made on special teams. Maybe that's different if Jones is able to stay healthy and didn't have that hammy issue. But regardless, your unit has to be better in 2025. I think really when the Bengals went on those playoff runs, that unit was really, really good and kind of a sneaky good part of their football team. Past 2 years have not been up to snuff. Needs to get back to that kind of level that we saw in 2021 if Cincinnati wants to get to where they want to get to. Make sure you guys give me a follow over on Twitter at StoneShields_. All of our Bengals Breakdown content will be posted to my Twitter page. So help me out. Give me a follow over on Twitter.